name's Angleton. The way you spin that story round, always sharp just like a tack when you're tracking the price of the dollar and pound. Oh! But drop the narrative, that thing that you inherited. Your history homos chariot just pulled up outside. Got William Patrick on the scene, they're breaking up the subroutine. Something's crackling in your brain, and K-Ultra make you go insane. Hey, don't you know we're only on the case for a good time, baby? Took a rose pill, now I'm reading these books for a long time, baby. Honeypots and psyop traps, you can trust the plan until you snap. Slop conspiracy everywhere. History homos clear the air. Close your eyes, what's truth or lie? Hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean. What's truth or lie, hiding in the space between. Reality's a tangled scene. Tune in, you'll know what I mean.
And I'm now reporting back to you, the listeners, what I've been up to. And, you know, sort of just because I figure you guys would like to enjoy the show this week. And it is going to be a shorter and a little more compact episode. I didn't do any, like, major research. A little bit, literally just right before recording, I'm learning a little bit more about some of the stuff I'm going to discuss. But yeah, no, I had a great time, and I thanks for sort of understanding this episode is going to be like a mini episode, I guess. But as next week is normal, totally back to the normal schedule. You won't see any more of these kind of things until next July. So, and not just that, but also William will be on the next episode. We're doing a Bible episode next week. But yeah, so I just figured a couple things. I'm not gonna go. By the way, this isn't gonna be like a consumers. Like, I'm not gonna be like, this day I had Korean barbecue. No, I'm not doing any of that stuff. But I did have Korean barbecue, though. It was good. But no, I'm gonna talk about like some of the. I intentionally did a historical vacation. Sort of like directly inspired by research I did for the show. So, I mean, it makes sense that I would do this as an episode as well. So, first thing I want to say is the first weekend before I went off to vacation, I went on Sunday night with my wife and Patrick to go see the new Danny Boyle, Alex Garland joint, 28 years later. And I'm going to do I think we're going to do a full bonus episode on that. Patrick and I, first of all, let me just say this. So if you've never seen the original 28 Days Later from the early 2000s, pretty seminal film. It like sort of got the whole zombie revival movement, if you will, kicked off in the 2000s. If you remember, you couldn't engage with pop culture without zombies having something to do with it in the late to aughts, early tens, to the point where it became like nauseating for me. I actually hated zombies for many years because of the overexposure. It was like similar to like, you know how like there was like a cultural moment where like bacon was like something that you could like say is cool. You know, if you remember, this is the same time period basically. Grumpy cat memes, that kind of thing. But yeah, the original movie, you know, I enjoyed it as a youngster, and then, you know, as you get older, as particularly after I saw this great video by a YouTuber named Wyatt Stagg. Recommend his channel entirely, by the way. I'm gonna give you a couple good recs this episode, so YouTube specifically, but Wyatt Stagg on YouTube did a great episode on 28 Days Later, the original film, and sort of goes through why he believes the entire film is like an allegorical. The entire thing's an allegory for like, you know, white original sin, and like particularly in the context of Britain, because it's a very British centric movie, but as that relates to like the British sentiment against immigration, or sort of anxieties about immigration. So I really recommend you go watch that video before you go see 28 Years Later. I think it would give you a different viewing version and again, I'm going to do a full episode on this. I'm just going to give you a quick couple things I noticed. I was, you know, not prepared to do. I didn't like go with like intending to take notes. I was just like, but it was pretty symbolic, most of the movie. So if you've never heard anything about the original, then this is not going to make much sense to you. But in the sequel that I watched, and again, I'm only going to spend like 5 minutes talking about this. So if you don't care to hear about it, just skip a little bit. But yeah, it takes place 28 years after the original film, and sort of like all of Britain has been quarantined, and like it's seemingly the rest of the world is sort of like operating normally, because there's some characters later, spoilers, there's some characters later on that have like smartphones and stuff like that. So it's like, but this character, so basically it follows this like society of all white, like islanders who sort of have returned to monk. Like they've kind of like returned to like a medieval almost sort of society, and or like it's very idyllic. It's shown as very idyllic, and there's and it's sort of like a rite of passage for the youngsters to go out into the zombie land, like onto the mainland of Britain, to go like hunt your first zombies. And I'm just gonna say right away, the zombies are coded as immigrants, even though they are white. A lot of them. Another thing is there's these but yeah, so the other thing, first thing I want to say is this is obviously like a commentary on like lately there's been like sort of a push to like return to tradition, sort of maybe go back to a simpler, lower tech style of existence or whatever. I think it's mocking that as being like a way to facilitate like a power fantasy or something, and like it's criticizing sort of all white enclavism for certain, and it's showing it as like seedy. I'm not going to get into like the details of the plot because I don't want to spoil every little detail of the movie, but like it shows that it's like it's not it's all fake because like the father who's supposed to be like this patriarch of the entire island or whatever, he's simultaneously viewed as that, and then simultaneously also he's adulterous and stuff like that. So it's very definitely a commentary on like the perhaps it even is more specifically British. But like, there's sort of this tendency to like, for media to sort of criticize the hypocrisy of the so-called, the white, European society or whatever. That's basically what he's doing. And again, I want to do a whole episode on this. I'm really only touching on a couple things here, but the couple other things I noticed was like, there's this other character that's like a doctor. It's like the only doctor. And in Britain, I guess, left because it's like, again, it's like sort of post-apocalyptic, and the people on the island are like fearful of him, and I think that is like a commentary on like the dissident right being like sort of the COVID thing, being like distrustful of doctors. Another thing is like he like collects like large like collections of bodies, and I think the intent is like he's doing that for a scientific or medical purpose, but in effect he's created these big towers of skulls, and when you meet this character up close, he's drenched himself in like red iodine. And I think what this is like it's like a allegory for like how people in the West have been like poisoned against communism because he's draped in red, and part of the fear around it is like these myths, which are somewhat not factual. Like a lot of the stories you hear from CIA-approved news sources about like, purges in Soviet countries and China and stuff, like a lot of them are exaggerated for effect to sort of like make communism look bad. And so there's truth to that. But I think the movie is going like, Western society has been like sort of poisoned against leftism because of these fake rumors of massive body counts or whatever. And he literally creates these pyramids of skulls. And it's not really clear what the purpose of it is, but he sort of has this like, it's definitely trying to evoke like alchemy because, pyramids. And at one point during the film, a character puts the final piece on the pyramid at the top, and the entire screen is bathed in gold, which is that's alchemy, right? That's an alchemy symbolism right there. And I don't know what exactly. I'm gonna have to watch it again. This was just my first takeaways, but basically, I think. There's another thing. Is there's these other zombies that they called alphas. And they're gigantic buff like monster guys, and they have big swinging like ton of male nudity in this film, and their dicks are like very visible and swinging. And I mean, what do you think they're saying there? Pathetic little dick white boy afraid of some big dick immigrants scaring you and making you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, that's what it's doing. That's what the movie's doing. I mean, which is just a incredibly gay trope and not really based in reality. It's sort of media created by the people who are utilizing it, ironically. But whatever, it's what it is. But yeah, again, let me try to think of it. I didn't write any of this down. This is like sort of off the dome piece. And when I do watch it again, I will be doing more. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. I think the whole thing about taking the little kid to the island to go get his first kill is like, it's first of all, it's like commentating on the this like idea of like forced masculinity, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a cultural expectation of masculinity or whatever, and like that culminates or it finds its voice through violence in this story. But I think like in it's sort of doing a meta analysis on our society, which is like you have to be like a tough guy who fights, or you have to play sports and hit, and stuff like that. But what it's doing is trying to link that and like racial otherizing. So it's trying to be like, you have to be a man, you have to enforce white supremacy. You know, and it's all very gay, you know, Frankfurt School type stuff. Very, very. But you know, that's what the first movie is too. So, but anyway, I'll do more on that. I'm happy with how much I've said about it so far. I have a few more things I want to get to. But yeah, to say how much I enjoy as a film, I believe it was very well shot, much like the first one, by the way. Very well shot. It has good, you know, shot compositions and stuff like that, and you know, original score and cool stuff. And you know, I thought it was entertaining. It had enough like action pacing and stuff. Really just nefarious the way that they do this stuff, like, or they just put this like very like demotivating whatever the word I'm looking for. I've been off a week, guys. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, it's very nefarious the way they just jam this stuff into movies and then they package it in this like, you know, pretty entertaining fucking piece of media. But yeah, so that's what we did Sunday night. Monday morning, we took off to go to Newport, Rhode Island. And the reason we went to Newport, Rhode Island was two things. Number one was the Jewish world of Alexander Hamilton. I don't have to, just it's in the RSS feed. But yeah, I did an episode on this a while back, and it really captured my attention because I didn't realize, like, well, first of all, they wrote this book about, like, this Jewish book by a Jewish guy talking about like how important Jewish people were, as marginal as they were at the time, in shaping policy that still today affects us in the form. In this case, is in the book, it details a story about how George Washington had been invited to this synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island, by well, first of all, it's worth mentioning that the synagogue has like a direct connection to the synagogue at which Alexander Hamilton was like very associated with. So the thesis of that book is that Alexander Hamilton himself was like, if not actually literally ethnically Jewish, but was like culturally Jewish. He grew up in a Jewish house. This is factual. He grew up in a Jewish pretty much household in the West Indies, and throughout his life he was like far more involved in Jewish people's lives for your average founding father. And yeah, he had like a huge hand in the passage of the freedom of religion, and the fact that freedom of, not just freedom to practice what religion you want, but the policy that you can also like actually serve in government as a public servant no matter what religion you are. And further in the book, it also details this very monumental meeting at which, following a Masonic meeting, by the way, they retired all the Jewish rich guys in Newport, Rhode Island, and George Washington retired to the synagogue where they like powwowed, and George Washington gave them the assurance that there would be freedom of religion and, you know, freedom to, you know, be in politics no matter what religion you had. And that's it, man. That was the moment, and they're very proud of this. And apparently somewhere in there, it's held under lock and key, of course. There's actually a handwritten letter from George Washington assuring these people that there would be freedom of religion in light of this meeting that they had. So I was really fascinated by this story, and I was like, I got to get down there and see it. I had designs to sort of get in there because you can look at pictures of it on Wikipedia, obviously, like most places, but you know, that doesn't really do the same thing as seeing with your own eyes. And I had designs to look at it, but when we got there, and I'll talk a little bit more about the trip later, but when we got there, it was locked. The gate was locked, and it had a sign that said, "Do not enter." And so I was like, well, that's that then. I'm not going to be looking inside there. You could see kind of in it, And I could see that there's Orthodox Jews there, by the way. It's now an Orthodox congregation, I guess. But I was explaining to my wife, though, it's like, yeah, of course, the non-Orthodox Jews don't go to fucking temple. They're atheists. Like Larry David. Remember he had the whole section of Curb where it was like making fun of Orthodox Jews in like a way to sort of be like, oh, all religion's dumb. Look, I even make fun of other Jews. But he's really just trying to say religion's bad. Don't be religious. See, kids, there's things in media. There's things that are baked into media that you are supposed to take from it, and it's extraneous to the entertainment value. Yeah, so anyway, this gave me the idea. I wanted to go to Newport, and then also I saw a video by the YouTube channel Dime Store Adventures, which I have definitely mentioned before in the show. I think a few of you have told me you also enjoy his videos. But yeah, he's this guy who does videos all around New England, going to like New England historical and natural sites and doing like a little talk about it. And I really enjoy his channel a lot. I'm a subscriber, not like I don't pay him or nothing, but you know, I subscribe every time his videos come out. They pop up and I favorite or I watch later them. So I recommend you go check this out. But he did this video called "Can I Still Follow This Walking Tour from 1937?" And lo and behold, this walking tour was in Newport, Rhode Island, and it was comprised of this synagogue that I was so interested in from the Alexander Hamilton book. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to Rhode Island, going to Newport. I'm going to stay in a colonial era house. Did, by the way. And I'm going to do this walking tour. And I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at the synagogue, and I'm going to go to these places where all this stuff happened. And I did. So in a few minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read through the walking tour in this 1937 book, which, by the way, is called Rhode Island: A Guide to the Smallest State. I don't have the author's name here right now. Maybe I can get it. But yeah, he it's from 1937, and some things are different, and that's actually makes it a lot more challenging and cool that I got to do this walking tour, because it was sort of like I really felt like a treasure hunt. Like, you know, it's not super descriptive. There's no photos, obviously. It's just printed words, and you know, it was cool. So I got into that whole angle on it. But the other thing I wanted to get to here is that I got thinking, and it was really this week that I got thinking. This wasn't like sort of something that I had been, you know, germinating on prior to this week, but the reason I bring it up is because 4th of July week is the week that I always take vacation, because of my industry basically shuts down. My day job industry basically shuts down, and we don't work. So I always take vacation. So I have a lot of like deeply imprinted memories of trips, of course, but also like just memories at home, like successful barbecue projects, video games that I completed on vacation, because, you know, extra time, all kinds of stuff. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how they all happened on the same week, the same time frame every single year for many years. I've worked at this company for a long time. And I was also thinking about, like, again, don't come at me with flat earth shit here right now, but assuming we are on a ball, which I do, by the way, I am a ball earther. Assuming we are in a ball in space that's going around the sun, that means that on some general level, not on an exact one-to-one level, because there is some sort of drift going on, as I understand it, on some level, when I am in the same place, or when I am in any place, when I'm in the same place during the week of July 4th, I'm generally speaking in the same cosmic location, meaning in the same place in relativity. I know there's that word again. In relativity to the sun and the other stars and other planets and stuff. Assuming that's real, which I do. So I was just thinking about how interesting that is. So, like, that you go to 4th of July is an interesting one too, to particularly be in like a place that has to do with American independence, like Newport, Rhode Island, or just New England in general, or Boston, or where I'm from, where it was a very relevant thing to happen in 1776. Maybe not for your average everyday life, but it was certainly like definitely the word revolution means like a 180% turn, 180 degree turn, like complete change, like a complete, like we went the other direction. So, I mean, in light of that, like the week of 4th of July is like, has a lot of cosmic significance that, things happen then, things happen then, and they have happened hence. So when it's just interesting for me to be in this place where like it was so felt that had happened that week in cosmic, space, very interesting. I don't know. I've got to lay off the fucking drugs, man. But I don't know. I was just thinking about that. And, when you go to some place that's like, go to a place that's really old, like a building that's built in the 1600s, and you're standing in a place that people were then, it feels a lot more relevant that I'm like cosmically also in the same place as them because of time and space and whatnot, calculus. But so I'm gonna read through this. Walking tour, and I will make my comments on all of it because I have something to say about absolutely every entry in it. And there's not that many, so don't worry. It's not gonna be fucking hours and hours. But I figure it's a fun little bit of content. I've also assembled some photos I personally took, and that is the thumbnail of this episode. So if you're listening to the podcast version, just refer to the thumbnail on your podcast player. And I will describe where I'm looking at it so I can describe where it is. But if you would like the full experience, I would recommend checking out the episode on Substack. And on it, I will not only have all of these images in full resolution, I will also add more pictures, than that. And I will, some stuff, if you're interested, you don't have to be interested either, by the way. I won't be offended. But, so let's read through this. So Foot Tour 1, and again, this is from 1937, Triangular Washington Square Park, sloping down the new courthouse and bounded by Toro Square and Broadway, is the heart of the old city. The smooth lawn and tall trees are now enclosed by an iron fence. In the center, there is a little frame summer house or bandstand, and in the foot is a windblown bronze statue of Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, looking toward the harbor. The iron fence is there. There's no bandstand there. Although I did notice that the bandstand was there in the Dime Store Adventures video. So that's an interesting detail. It's been gone since then. And the statue of Oliver Hazard Perry is still there looking towards the harbor. Oliver Hazard Perry is commented on more later in this walking tour. So we'll get to him. But I will comment on this is that I did notice that there was a bunch of like junkies congregate white mostly, but congregated in this little square, and they eyeball you as you walk through, even though it's like I'm the one who's supposed to be here. I'm enriching the. I'm kidding. I am technically enriching. I'm literally spending money here, so yeah, I'm technically enriching the area, and you are detracting from it. But it's funny because like my wife commented like man, there's like a surprising amount of bums here, and I'm like, there's a lot of rich people here, so I feel like the scraps are like decadent, like if you get like although these aren't like the kind of rich people who are like guilty and like want to give you your money. This is like old rich, like the people who wear old ratty clothes because they want to stay rich. But I don't know, man. There's a surprising amount of white detritus. Not that I'm complaining, really. It's just the junky element is not. It's not great. Okay, number 2. Facing the sharp bottom of the square from Thames Street. So this is something I wanted to comment on. It's Thames Street. It is Thames Street. It's Thames, Thames, like the river in England. But they pronounce it Thames. And it's very relevant now because we're talking about number 2. The old City Hall, open weekdays 9 to 5, is an exceptionally well-designed structure. It was erected by the town in 1761 on a lot given by the proprietors of Long Wharf as a public granary, although it was never used for that purpose. Funds were raised by the structure by a lottery, and Peter Harrison was the architect. The red brick building, recently restored and now occupied the Chamber of Commerce, has 3 bays on the front and on the rear, and 7 on each side. The bays of the first story consist of arched openings separated by vigorously proportioned piers. Some of the side arches have been bricked up, others have been recessed, windows and doors. Above a brick-built course rise 2 more stories, with the bays separated by wooden pilasters and their Ionic capitals supporting a simple entablature with modillioned cornice. The pilasters are coupled on the corners. Treatment of the second-story windows consisted of triangular and segmental pediments with classic architraves. Okay. So yeah, but there was in 1761 the upper part was used as a printing office. In 1793, Alexander Placide remodeled the upper stories and opened a theater. And there was a theater from 1842. And it became in 1842 from the 1700s to 1842 it was a theater, and I was up there in the theater, by the way. There's like a little a museum there, and then so it was a city hall for many years, and it was for a long time it was in disuse when they restored it, and I guess shortly after this book they made it into the museum. But museum was not crazy interesting, although I did give them $5 to let us go in. They had some cool stuff. I was more that I was interested in the fact that I was walking upstairs in like this old, city hall / theater. That was cool. And they had some artifacts there that were neat. Nothing crazy though. But the thing was, I just asked this lady. I was sort of, I'm not gonna lie. Part of it was I just wanted to be like, hey, check out what I'm doing, lady. Probably bored, have nothing to do here at this job. What this like desk that you probably talk to people just asking where the bathroom is all day. So I show her this thing. And I'm like, hey, so I'm trying to get to the next thing, which we'll get to in a minute. It's the Oliver Hazard Perry house. The thing is she like was immediately dismissive, thinking I'm like a dum-dum right away. And also she like laughed when I said Thames Street, because I assumed it was Thames, because that's how it's pronounced in England. And you mean Thames Street? I'm like, yeah, well, fine, but it is named after the river in England, correct? And she was like, huh. She like that cat, huh? But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the vibe from her, but either way, I said, okay, thanks, lady. I just tell me that this is the next thing. I pointed at the next thing, and she goes, yes, that is what they're talking about. So I went on my way. Oh, also, you got to like take the receipt and that for having gone in there, and you got to get into the next building for free, which was kind of sick. So I did that. So that was the real reason why I ended up going in that building and seeing nearly nothing. Okay, so east from Thames Street on Toro Street along the square, Oliver Hazard Perry House, 29 Toro Street, is a plain frame building 2.5 stories high, built about 1755 and are now much altered. During the French occupation of Newport, 1780 to 81, it housed the French Quartermaster General M. de Belleville and a number of his subordinates. In 1795, Moses Sasius established the Bank of Rhode Island. And yes, if you're wondering, a guy establishing a bank in Rhode Island, even in 1795, his name is Moses. And by the way, Sacius is it's like a Sephardic Spanish Jewish name. You're going to hear more of them too. Using it until 1818. In that year, it was purchased by the Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, but he resided there only a few months. It is now occupied by the Salvation Army. It is now actually a rare coins and print store that I was devastated was not open while I was there. Absolutely devastated. I would have killed to get in there and look into that stuff, especially show this guy this book. I'm by the way, the way I consumed this was I got a PDF of this 1937 book, and I just had it open in my phone and was just scrolling through it. But I'm sure the guy at the print store would have loved that. But bummer, I didn't get to go in that. So across the square left is the Abram Rivera House, 1793, Jewish. Also notice Jewish first name, Spanish last name, Portuguese perhaps, and it indeed they say more about it later. But now the Newport National Bank, still there by the way, still a bank, is a 3-story gambrel roof house with 3 dormers. The central one topped by a broken pediment. The 3rd story overhangs on the front of the structure. Its brick chimneys are modern. St. Joseph's High School, 33 Toro Street, a Catholic high school for girls, opened as a parish school in 1889, is housed in a structure built before 1775. The building has been completely modernized except for the doorway, which is beautifully designed with a fan light surmounted by a pediment. Corinthian capitals top the engaged fluted columns. Not much to say with this. This is just somebody's house now. It's very large. Sort of. I don't want to use the word mansion because there are legit mansions in this town. But it would be considered a quite generously sized house today, and as it says, the only thing you can really tell that it's old is because the front porch is like very old school looking. Former Zion Episcopal Church, now a movie theater, still a movie theater by the by. At the corner of Toro and Clark Streets is a large red brick building with Greek-pillared portico. It was erected in 1834. In 1885, the property was sold to St. Joseph's Church, and Zion Church ceased to exist. The congregation of St. Joseph's moved to a new building in 1912. So, yeah, it's still a movie theater. They were showing Body Heat starring Marlon Brando the night we were there. We did not go. I debated it for a second, but I was like, no, I don't want to see fucking Body Heat with Marlon Brando. Especially not pay for it. All right, number 7, the new courthouse on Washington Square is a 2.5-story structure built on 1926 from a design by W. Cornell Appleton. The brick exterior with a white limestone trim conforms in architectural styles of the old Colony House next door. True. The porticoed entrance is flanked by 2 guns that were used at the Battle of the Bull Run, July 21st, 1861, and later were used as saluting guns by the Newport Artillery. A full-length Gilbert Stuart portrait of George Washington hangs between the 1st and 2nd floor landings. Stuart, so much to comment on here. Stuart, a resident of Newport for a few years, was in 1800 commissioned by the General Assembly to paint 2 such portraits of Washington at the expense of the state. $1,200 was appropriated to pay him and $200 for the frames. That's an immense amount of money in 1801. I'm shocked at that amount of money. The pictures were placed in Senate chambers in the state houses in Newport and Providence. The Newport picture was removed without authority from its place in the local state house about 1926 and hung in the new structure. So it's actually not in that courthouse. There's 2 originals, as it says here. And they are now both in galleries in Boston, actually. But there are many copies of this. Oh, crap. I should have put that in the... Damn it. Oh, well, you have to go look at... I took a photo of one. So there's copies that were done by his daughter. Gilbert Stuart is this, like, very celebrated portraitist from Newport, Rhode Island, actually. But his daughter actually did these 1-to-1 copies of them, and I saw 2 of them while I was on the trip, and I'll talk about them as I come to the part. But yeah, no, they're very impressive. They're fucking huge. It's taller than me. It's like it's me and a half tall and me wide. Like me tall wide. Me like height wide. Amazing picture, by the way. Yeah, so you can't see any of the originals in Newport. This book is no longer correct. But you can see the painting with your own eyes, basically. It's also from very shortly after the original was done, so it's still impressive to look at. Okay, moving on. I don't want to dilly-dally too much here. I'm going to try to skip over some of the architectural stuff. Okay, so the next one is right next to it is the Old Colony House or Old State House, also at the head of Washington Square. It was built in 1739 from a design by Richard Munday and has recently years been carefully restored. Okay, I'm not going to read any of this about the architecture. The building was erected to house the deliberations of the General Assembly, but was also used for public meetings and religious and social functions. From its handsome second-floor balcony were officially proclaimed the death of George II, the ascendancy of George III, and the acceptance of the Declaration of Independence. During the Revolution, the British and then the French used the building as a hospital. The French chaplains read Mass in the South Chamber. The first lectures in America on medicine and dentistry were delivered in the council room by Dr. William Hunter in 1756. From the adoption of the Constitution in 1790 until the dedication of the new State House in Providence in 1900, the May sessions of the state legislature were held here. Now, this is one of these big ones. I also stupidly forgot to put the picture of the assembly room. I will put it on the Substack page, so if you want to see it, you got to go see there. But I took a really nice photo of the assembly room, and it's just being in this place where I was talking about cosmic location and all that stuff. It's like so much history happened here. Like I was talking to like the guy who worked there, and he was showing me like on the ground. By the way, the planks in the floor are like 3 feet wide. That's old growth forest. That is an old fucking tree that they had to cut to make that kind of board. Amazing. And it's so thick. It's still there from 1700s, bro. And the other thing was he was showing me like there's these like, you could clearly see that there's like tire tracks, as it were. They look like tire tracks. And he said, yeah, apparently while the British occupied this as a hospital, they would just take one of their gigantic cannons and roll it out to the door to face outwards to be like intimidating or something. Who knows if that's a true story or not, but I could see what he was talking about with the marks on the floor. Really amazing to be like, I'm standing on this place where British soldiers, during the Revolutionary War. Oh man, so cool. But yeah, so what's it called? Yeah, that's that. But very cool, and the guy there is nice, and just this is one of the places. This is the photo I'm gonna post of the Gilbert Stuart copy. Too. This is such an amazing. This was probably one of the better places we went to, based on those two things that we saw. But yeah. So number 9, Polly Lawton House, 67 Toro Street, was an old frame structure. The first floor of which is occupied by a store. Was the home of Polly Lawton, a beautiful Newport girl who was much admired by the French officers in Rochambeau's army during the Revolution. Count de Ségur regarded Polly Lawton as a celestial being, and certain it is that if I had not been married and happy, I should, while coming to defend the liberty of the Americans, have lost my own at her feet. I thought that was worth reading. Okay, here we are, the temple. Temple Jeshuat Israel. It's not called that anymore. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called the Toro Synagogue, actually. 72 Toro Street is probably the oldest synagogue in America. The congregation was organized in 1658 and construction was begun in 1759. The building being completed and dedicated in the year 5523 of the Jewish calendar, 1763. Peter Harrison, again, was the architect and combined his particularly architectural style, the Georgian colonial, with the traditional synagogue architecture of Spanish Portuguese Jews. So here's what other thing I was going to talk about. Portuguese people are just Jewish. Sorry, Patrick. Yeah, man. It's particularly when you look at this sort of like stuff, where like it's just they're synonymous. When you look at any sort of like colonial records or anything, Portuguese people and Jews are synonymous in any sort of record keeping. if you heard a story about a court case related to Portuguese people, they were Jewish. Like, that as a fact. It said this in the Alexander Hamilton book, by the way. But anyway, so let's just keep moving. The brick structure, about 43 by 30, was built in an acute angle with the street so that the arc should face directly east. And it is weird. It's like the only... just randomly, everything else is like lined up except that. It's very symbolic, I guess. But the other thing is, the guy at that other colonial house told me that the land that they're on is like the very first spring. It's actually called Spring Street that it crosses. So it's on Toro Street, but the cross street is Spring Street. And there's this nice like little park that's encompassed in the synagogue. That is apparently, that's like the spring that Newport was built around in the early 1650s when, you know, they originally started. Because as you know, any colony has to be built around sources of fresh water, and that was it. And the Jews nabbed it. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. I think I had a pretty good 42 minutes before taking a sip of water. All right, let me just finish up here. Well, not finish up. We're about halfway through, I think. A gallery for women extends around 3 sides. Okay, we're not going to read that. 5 candelabra. We didn't get to see this, so this doesn't really fucking matter to me. I didn't get to look at it. Go look on Wikipedia if you want to see it. All right. Across the street is the Jewish Community Center. It was originally called the Sheffield House. And is an unusually good example of the type of structure built in the decadent stage of the Greek revival with elaborately carved Corinthian capitals, blah, blah, blah. At the time of me seeing it, it was actually part of the synagogue also. I don't know what they're doing with it. It just seems like they're collecting real estate. I don't know, but either way, that's what they're doing. Newport Historical Society Museum. This was great. 82 Toro Street. A plain brick structure built in 1902. Houses many relics and records, including the Society's fine collection of more than 7,000 volumes and pamphlets. So inside this building, in addition to it being a little museum, very little museum, it's mainly, by the way, actually just an office for like a Jewish daycare for these women to work at desks on a Tuesday. But in the back is this. The Sabbatarian Meeting House, or Seventh-day Baptist Church, now in court. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I go any further, refer to the thumbnail. The top right image is the synagogue. So as you can see, you can even see in the background that like it's off step with the rest of the buildings. Like it's at a funky angle. It's a face east, so it's going, I guess, facing Mecca. I don't know. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, the Sabbatarian Meeting House, or Seventh-day Baptist Church, now incorporated in the rear of the museum, was erected in 1729, very long time ago, under the direction of Jonathan Sabin and Henry Collins, a founder of the Redwood Library. The meeting room is 36 feet long and 26 feet wide. The molding and paneling is hand-wrought, and the carving of the railing on the curved flight of steps leading up the pulpit is of exquisite workmanship. The pulpit and the sounding board are beautifully designed and executed, as is the clock that hangs opposite them in the gallery. This clock, made by William Claggett in 1731, has the original works and is still keeping time correctly. The tables on the wall were presented to the church by John Tanner and others in 1773. The first Sabbatarian congregation in America was formed in Newport in 1671 by Stephen Mumford, and this edifice is the oldest meeting house of the sect in the country. Records of the church terminated about 1839, so it doesn't even exist. It's Seventh-day Baptism. I don't know what that is. I don't know what very cool. So refer to the thumbnail. It is the picture. This is my photo of the meeting house. Essentially, it's not the whole that you can get. That's the pulpit is, and there's the banister of exquisite workmanship. It's right over the Historyhomos logo, and I'm so sorry. I forgot to take a picture of the William Claggett clock. However, I got an image of it from the Dime Store Adventure video. It's at the bottom of the picture. Now, here's the thing. It appeared to be also a keeping time. I can't guarantee because it didn't tick and it didn't make any kind of noise. But when I saw it, it read the correct time, and I said it must be working. And that is fucking amazing. 1731, this clock is still going, and it's gorgeous, by the way. Hand-painted stuff. It's the only one of this kind that it says. I looked it up, and apparently it's one of the very first wall clocks to ever exist in America. Yeah, and it's the only one he did that is black like this. Very cool, and he made it specifically for these Sabbatarians. Really interesting, and I'm so mad at myself I didn't get my own picture because the one here is not very good resolution. All right. Right from Toro Street, yes, we walked up here. The Jewish cemetery, you can't go in it, obviously. We walked by it. Pretty nice looking. Oh, here's one thing. 3 of these, I'll just read this section. Purchased in 1677, so this is the oldest Jewish cemetery in America, by the way. Originally contained only about 1,200 square feet, but is gradually enlarged to more than double that size. 42 great tombstones are scattered along what seems to have been originally 4 rows of graves within an iron and stone fence built in recent years. 3 of these stones have no inscription at all, so the others on the others of the lettering still visible, though in many cases the characters are so worn that it is impossible to read, which are in Hebrew, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Latin. Many stones have been lost or destroyed during the years, and the oldest that remains dates from 1761. The cemetery is now well cared for, surprise, surprise, and in the summer has the appearance of a beautiful garden. True. Now the next thing is the Redwood Library in Athenaeum. It's the dead center. I took a nice photo of it. It's dead center on the thumbnail. Beautiful brown, red brick. I'm not going to read it much here. I'll say this, is that the Jews paid for it largely. But it was I'll just read it. A corporation organized as a philosophical society in 1730 and incorporated in 1743. In 1747, Abraham Redwood Roth, I bet, gave 500 pounds sterling to the Society of the purchase of books in London, and these form the nucleus of the present collection. The inhabitants of the town subscribed 5,000 pounds sterling to erect a building. Henry Collins presented the society with land, and in 1750 the original structure was completed. In time, the society received 84 volumes from the English crown and many more from Dean Berkeley. Judah Toro bequeathed it $3,000 for the purchase of the books and gave $1,000 for repairs. In 1862, Charles B. King willed all his books, engravings, and over 200 paintings to the organization. During the Revolutionary War, the British General Richard Prescott, on hearing the exposed state of the library, stationed a guard to protect from injury and depredation. But on the evacuation by the British in 1779, the building was sacked, many valuable books being carried away. Society is now is a fine collection of containing 87,674 volumes, probably more now. And the library is a Bible printed by Christopher Plantin of Antwerp in 1487. I was not allowed to see this. Leaves were stolen from the Bible in 1848, but the conscience-stricken thief or his heirs returned them in 1880. There is a notable exhibit of paintings and statuary. That is true. I went in and I said, "Can I see this Bible?" They said no. They said you have to have an appointment, or you come in with a school group. So they're basically saying, "No, go fuck yourself. You will never see this thing." I really would have enjoyed to look at that old Bible. I really would. I'll just keep going. The next building, Art Association building, it's an art museum. I did not go in because it was dedicated to one artist. I looked them up on Google and said I'm good. It's like modernist stuff, not good. Right from Toro Park. Okay, I got a couple of pics from this. On Mill Street, just off Bellevue, is named in the memory of Judah Toro, who gave the city $10,000 to buy and improve the grounds and land around the old stone mill. Judah Toro, 1775 to 1854, was the second son of Rabbi Toro, who came to Newport about 1760 and was the first regular rabbi of the congregation of Jehuat Israel. And he had lived there and made a fortune in New Orleans, probably doing some mob stuff. Served under General Jackson in the defense of that city in 1812. Oh, by the way, in the Athenaeum, there's a big painting of Andrew Jackson, his presidential painting, which is there because of this Toro guy who obviously admired him. Toro, the son of the rabbi, not the actual rabbi, the second one, the one who donated this money for this park, which I'm going to talk about now. On the north side of the park is the roofless old stone mill. It is the top image on, this is my photo, in the thumbnail. A circular stone tower with open arches below. The supporting pillars are comprised of flat, irregularly shaped stones carefully laid with mortar joints. The old structure has been the subject of sporadic controversy for over 100 years, many people choosing to believe it is a relic of the Norsemen, but it is now generally accepted as being the ruin of a windmill built by Benedict Arnold, grandfather of the Benedict Arnold from the Revolutionary War, governor of the colony, 1663 to 1666, 1669 to 1672. James Fenimore Cooper in his Red Rover referred to it as the remains of a windmill, but when Henry Wadsworth Longfellow heard of a skeleton being dug up at Fall River, clad in broken and corroded armor, he connected this with this tower in his poem, The Skeleton in the Armor. On the east side of the park is a bronze statue of Matthew C. Perry. I took a photo of it. Very handsome. Who negotiated the Japanese treaty. It's at bottom right of my thumbnail. The Japanese Treaty of 1854. At the west end is a bronze statue of William Ellery. Channing did not take a picture of this, but it was pretty cool. I actually should have. The divine and scholar who was born in Newport and became known as the Apostle of Unitarianism. That's an episode. He was the son of William Channing, who was appointed a United States attorney by Washington in 1791, and Lucy, daughter of William Ellery, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. During the Civil War, the midshipmen from the United States Naval Academy trained in this park. Also, this is modern. So right next to my photo of the William Perry statue is an old. I don't know what the name of this thing is, but it's a medieval Japanese like little pagoda thing, and it was donated in the 2010. I think Newport became the sister city to Shinoda, Japan, and I don't know what they sent, but the Japanese sent this medieval, like religious, like shrine-y looking thing. And it's very handsome. I think it's right in very close view of the Matthew Perry statue. I think it's a great accompaniment. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that, remember earlier I was talking about those Battle the Bull Run cannons? They were not in front of that courthouse, and I was ass hurt. Very ass hurt. But when I got to the place with the Sabbatarian church, we walked outside, and I go, wait a minute, no way. Guess what? We're sitting right there in the lawn. The fucking Bull Run cannons, man. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. And the other thing was there was this giant stump right next to that too. The stump was so fucking big. It was my height in girth. Like the tree was my height in girth. That is a fucking old tree. That is crazy. And it's been gone for a long time too. So you could imagine how long that tree been there. Amazing. So yeah, Toro Park, very cool. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Tillinghast House not open. Oh, this was cool. It's a really, really nice looking house. I'm not gonna say much about it here, but there's there's just a couple nice houses. Here, Tillinghast House, not open. Nice house. The Channing Memorial Church, 131 Pelham Street, erected in 1880 with the English Gothic styles, constructed of rose granite with light trim and as a high spire. The stained glass windows are the work of John Lafarge. Unitarians, and this is right in front of that statue, by the way. It's a Unitarian church, or it was at the time of this writing, and it makes sense that it'd be right in front of the William Ellery statue. The Van Zandt House, 70 Pelham Street, built in 1846, is a 2.5-story white frame Greek revival structure. Gorgeous. It looks like it fell out of the sky from ancient Greece. It's gorgeous. It's somebody's house. You can't go up to it, but there is a little. You can go up to the little burial ground right next to it, Adams Burial Ground or something. And it says right here, the body of Governor Benedict Arnold, who died in 1678, is buried in the rear of the house along with members of the Pelham and Bannister families. And yeah, you can just go over there if you want. I did. Prescott House, not open, 56, is a 3-story frame building of rather fine proportions. Stuff about it's built by John Bannister, a wealthy citizen whose portrait was painted by Gilbert Stuart. And the painting of it is in Redwood Library. I saw it. So that was the cool connection that I got to. So it was just a house. It's not that exciting as an old house, but it's cool to look at it and go, not only is this a house from 1767, but I just saw the painting by a famous artist with my own eyes just a minute ago. So it says here that the Prescott was like a cunt. Like he was a Tory or British Army general, was a dickhead. So he would shake his cane at people and say, "Disperse, ye rebels." Pretty funny. Every woman was told that when she met the general, she should bow low, and every man that should remove his hat entirely from his head and stand bareheaded so as long as the officer was in sight. Failure to comply with this unwritten law would cause the general to strike the offender or thrust at him with his cane. Hilarious. In 21, the Langley House, 43 Pelham Street, is a little 1.5-story frame gambrel roof building built before the Revolutionary War. It was used by the British during their occupation of Newport. A poem entitled "The Little Old Woman in the Grey House" has given it some literary interest. There's a little old woman lives over the way in a gambrel roof cottage unpainted in gray, and where the brown grapevine is clambering across, the shingles are covered with patches of moss. I saw this house. It was beautiful. Little house is amazing that it's still there. 17 something, early, very long time ago, and it's just somebody's house now. I almost wanted to knock on the door and say, "Hey, do you know there's a poem about your house?" That would have been weird, though, right? It says here that the house has become a shop in 1937. It's not anymore. It's just somebody's house. Okay, I have a photo here. The top left in my on my thumbnail. What's it called? On Thames Street, 3 Pelham Street crossroad of Thames Street is a marker indicating the house in front of which David Melville placed gas lights in 1806, the first installation of gas lights in America. And I have a photo, top left of the thumbnail. It is the original gas light and the plaque commemorating it as such. Very cool. And much like Dime Store Adventure said in his video, I would not have noticed this. It's very small detail on the street, if not for this book. Really cool that I got to look at this and just understand the enormity of it because I was looking at this old book. Bannister's Wharf. It is exactly it's a wharf, and it's also a bunch of shops. I did not go over in here because it's a fucking tourist zoo. They had a CBD store. Except it says here that they did dog fights there back in the day. I could see that. An oyster house. Oh, I had some really awesome food. I'm not going to talk all about the food, but I went into this, not there, but there was this 1700s era, pretty much all looking the same oyster house where we just went in and had a beer to get off the street for a few minutes. Awesome. Just so cool. Just so amazing to be in that environment. You can sort of there's a bunch of people in fucking Zoomer, gear around, with their families or whatever. But you can really sort of if you just sort of zone into the buildings and stuff, it's very cool. Okay. Champlin Mason House not open. Thames Street is a 2-story frame structure now greatly altered. Blah, blah, blah. We didn't really check this out. I'm going to be honest. So we turned up onto Franklin, onto Spring Street. Spring Street also, as I said, it terminates where that the synagogue is. The Maudsley House, just another beautiful house. It says all it says here really is stuff about the architecture. You don't care about it. I don't care about it. Let's move on. Oh, but Captain John's Maudsley. So this was the interesting thing about it. So it's a nice looking house, very old. Let's see what year it says. 1795. Oh no, that's when it got purchased. So it's older than that. Very old. Doesn't say, weirdly. But Captain John Maudsley was an 18th century merchant and privateersman noted for his hospitality. Strangers participated of his bounty, and the blessings of the poor rested on his head. Meaning everyone who was poor in town was like, "Hey, John, could you cough up?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, man." In 1795, the house was purchased by Caleb Gardner, who had a Negro slave named Newport, a remarkable character who organized a church a sort of church known as the Union Society for General Improvement. So I think this is interesting because there was like 4 black people in Newport, Rhode Island in that time, in the 1790s, dude. That's crazy. I mean, there weren't a lot where I was there, to be fair. But I'm just saying it's like remarkable that there is like it's interesting to me that it was remarkable that a black guy moved in, a slave. United Congregational Church, 198 Spring Street, is a spacious brownstone edifice, gorgeous by the way, erected in 1757. The first Congregational Society was organized in Newport in 1720. After dissension, the second congregation was organized 8 years later. In 1833, they reconciled, and in 1857, dedicated this building to the worship of the triune God. I don't even know what that is. Trinity Church. Yeah, you can go inside. I did not go inside. I regret it. It's very nice in there. I saw some pictures and video. But there's a couple things about it. Is this was like the Episcopalian, Presbyterian, Church of England church for the town. And interestingly, they had they forgot to rip when the war ended and America was free. They forgot to take down the crown from the like belfry, and it's still there. You can see it. Very cool, very old burial site next to it. Some of the oldest burial grounds in the place. Very cool, very cool. And yeah, check out the video if you want to see the video. Check out the Dime Store Adventures video if you want to see inside of it. I wish I went in. I didn't have time. The Vernon House. Oh, yes, this was nice. This was right in the corner of where we were staying. Now occupied the Family Welfare Society, indeed, still there, is a 2 1/2 story frame structure of Georgian type with rusticated woodblock treatment, blah, blah, blah. The house was built in 1756 by Metcalfe Bowler, later Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, and came into possession of William Vernon in 1773, remaining in the family until 1872, which accounts for its excellent condition. Vernon, 1719 and 1806, was a wealthy merchant and ship owner and was president of the Eastern Navy Board during the Revolutionary War and rendered invaluable service in organizing the American Navy. Count de Rochambeau and a brilliant group of Frenchmen occupied the house in 1780 to 81, among them Count de Fersen, a lover of Marie Antoinette. George Washington visited Rochambeau here in March, so I walked right by this fucking place, March 6, 1781, to discuss future campaigns against the English. As Washington was about to enter the house, a little fellow held in his father's arms called out, "Why, father, General Washington is a man!" Overhearing the remark, the general replied, "Yes, my son, only a man." So, okay, now we're hitting into my whole thing about George Washington being a fake person. You probably thought, oh, geez, Scott's getting worked up about being at a place where Washington was. Doesn't he not believe in him? It took 1 second of me reading that little anecdote to be like, yeah, this guy's fake. I mean, here's the thing. I think there was a biological entity that was George Washington, but I think everything about him is fugazi, basically. And it's an amalgamation of stories, folklore, words that Alexander Hamilton wrote and said and were attributed to him because he's like, I want you to be my mouth. Basically, that's really what it was. That's the relationship that they had. And, I obviously he's an important person. It seems to me like George Washington, the guy, is a soldier primarily. And like the figure we think of today, a great soldier, by the way, won the war. And, held out in Valley Forge and all that stuff. And, it seems like he was pretty much concerned with being a military man, which doesn't necessarily make you a great politician or thinker or statesman, And so that's where I think Alexander Hamilton came in. And I think, and not other people too, like John, what's the one from Virginia that I don't like? That guy, whatever his name is. And John Adams to a degree, all these guys, they all had a hand in it, except probably Jefferson. He seems like his own guy. Weird guy, by the way. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is it just, I think there's something up with the Wash man. All right, Newport Artillery Armory. I do have a photo. It will be. It's not in the thumbnail, but it will be in the. It will be in the Substack post. On 23 Clark Street is a large granite structure erected in 1836. Is the home of the Newport Artillery Company, chartered in 1741. It was the second artillery company organized in the New England colonies. And was modeled on the plan of the Ancient Honorable Artillery Company of Boston, which was established in 1638. The Newport Artillery, we talked a bit about that in the Boston episode. The Newport Artillery has been in service in all wars of the country since it was organized. Wow. The old armory contains many historical papers and guns. I wanted to go in here. I couldn't. It was not open. A painting of George Washington by Jane Stewart. So this might be the one that is actually at the old Colony House. So I don't think it's there. I think it's actually the old Colony House now. Locks of hair from both General Washington and the Duke of Wellington, and the flag that was flown by Oliver Hazard Perry at the Battle of Lake Erie. Crazy. Okay. Yeah. And so the next one is a church. I got to be honest, I fell off at this point. We didn't finish it quite. No, we did. Here's the thing. This was all places that I'd walked up and down the street I was staying on is Clark Street. Oh, no, I did look at this. You're right. Yes, there's three houses. The last three are three houses that have a little plaque on them out front of them that you can literally look at on the street. And this is the first thing I saw in town when I got there. And, yeah, they're pretty much just three nice houses and a nice old church, which is not a church now, I don't think. It's actually like a house. But it still looks like a church. But yeah, very cool stuff. And again, if you're thinking about taking a trip to Newport, do it. It's great. I can't recommend it enough. But I think I covered enough here. I'm going to put up so go check out the Substack page and see like the other pictures I didn't like talk about or I talked about but didn't put in the thumbnail. But yeah, I hope you like this episode. If it sucks, I'm sorry, but new stuff next week. What else? Yeah. Oh, that's the thing I was going to say. So it mentioned before the thing about the old stone mill. I deliberately stepped over that. You might be thinking, what? They're saying it might be a Viking made it, Scott. Why did you just step over that? I'll tell you why. Because next week's bonus episode, we're doing a full episode of the old stone mill. Boom. That's why. We're going to talk just about the old stone mill and all the crazy theories associated with it, which also what I really think the truth is. It's much simpler, by the way. But yeah, so that's coming out next week. And then also a Bible episode with William next week. So, we got good content coming. And then plenty of new great episodes lined up for the weeks after. So History Homos is back on the road after just 1 week off, and I hope you enjoyed this little fixer-upper in the meantime. So, www.historyhomos.com for the RSS feed or wherever you find podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Rockfin, and most importantly on Substack, historyhomospod.substack.com. Go check that out. And, yeah, man, just pop over there and sign up, and lots of good content every week. Like I said, Old Stone Mill episode next week, and last week's episode were good too, by the way. We did the Count Zero analysis. I think that came out really nicely. So lots of great content at Substack. It's not just this and it's not just the bonus, it's not just the regular feed episodes either. So lots of in-depth analyses and history lessons and stuff. So yeah, Telegram, t.me/historyhomos is the channel. T.me/historyhomos chat is the chat. Come in there and chat with us. It's inundated with Indian scammers. But we have fun, right? Yeah, Die With Dignity. Oh, yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email me at historyhomos@gmail.com. Die With Dignity. No one else is here, but I will just say be gay to yourselves and each other. Later, homos.